Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Taliban takes control of Presidential Palace in Kabul, Afghan airspace closed. United Nations Security Council meets to discuss Afghanistan situation. New Delhi says it will take all steps to ensure safety and security of its nationals and interests in Afghanistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to virtually interact with Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow. Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 97.48%. Country celebrates Parsi New Year Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. Malaysia's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin resigns as political crisis escalates. Sensex and Nifty hit fresh record highs. 75 Hunar Haats to be organized across the country under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, says Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. And second cricket test between India and England heading for a draw at Lord's. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is going on, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Taliban have taken over the capital Kabul and claimed victory in Afghanistan. A spokesperson for the group told the news network that their fighters have seized the presidential palace. They claimed that the government has collapsed and President Ashraf Ghani has fled. There were scenes of panic at Kabul airport as desperate residents tried to flee following the seizure of the capital by the Taliban. Eyewitnesses told media that at least 3 civilians died today in the chaos at the airport, which is being secured by the U.S. troops. Commercial flights have mostly been suspended, stranding hundreds of Afghans and other foreign nationals. As huge crowds gathered, U.S. forces reportedly fired into the air to disperse people who were trying to force their way into planes. There were reports that some died in the stampede. Video obtained by an Afghan media outlet of another incident apparently shows 3 men falling from a plane that had taken off after clinging to its tires. The U.S. has sent 6,000 troops to assist in the evacuation. The U.S. and other countries are rushing to evacuate staff and allies. Yesterday, Taliban declared victory after Afghan President Ashraf Ghani fled abroad and his government collapsed. The militants' return to rule brings an end to almost 20 years of a U.S.-led coalition's presence in the country. Air India will not operate any flights to Kabul due to the closure of Afghan airspace. And Air India officials informed that the flight which was earlier scheduled to fly from Delhi to Kabul today has been cancelled. Air India's AI-126 Chicago-Delhi flight had to be diverted to Gulf airspace due to the closure of Afghan airspace. Earlier, the Afghanistan airspace was declared uncontrolled by the Kabul airport authorities and transit flights have been asked to avoid the airspace. India today said that it will take all steps to ensure the safety and security of its nationals and interests in Afghanistan. In response to media queries on situation in Afghanistan, External Affairs Ministry spokesman Arindam Bagchi said the suspension of commercial operations from Kabul airport has forced a pause in India's repatriation efforts. He said they are awaiting the resumption of flights to restart the process. He said the situation in Afghanistan is being monitored on a constant basis at high levels. The spokesman said India is in constant touch with the representatives of Afghan Sikh and Hindu communities and will facilitate repatriation to India of those who wish to leave Afghanistan. He said there are also a number of Afghans who have been partners in the promotion of mutual development, educational and people-to-people endeavours, and India will stand by them. The security situation in Kabul has deteriorated significantly in the last few days. Government has been closely monitoring all developments in Afghanistan. It has been issuing periodic advisories for the safety and security of Indian nationals in that country, including calling for their immediate return to India. External Affairs Ministry had circulated emergency contact numbers and had also been extending assistance to community members. Mr. Bagchi said they are aware that there are still some Indian nationals in Afghanistan who wish to return and are in touch with them.
The United Nations Security Council meeting called for discussing the Afghanistan issue is underway in New York. Briefing the media, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the world is following events in Afghanistan with a heavy heart and deep disquiet about what lies ahead. He said that the whole world has seen the images in real time: chaos, unrest, uncertainty and fear. Mr. Guterres urged all parties, especially the Taliban, to exercise utmost restraint to protect lives and to ensure that humanitarian needs can be met.
We will stay and deliver in support of the Afghan people in their hour of need. Looking ahead, I call for an immediate end to violence, for the rights of all Afghans to be respected, and for Afghanistan to comply with all international agreements to which it is a party. Afghans are a proud people with a rich cultural heritage. They have known generations of war and hardship. They deserve our full support. The following days will be pivotal. The world is watching. We cannot and must not abandon the people of Afghanistan.
The Secretary General said the conflict has forced hundreds of thousands from their homes. He reminded all parties of their obligation to protect civilians. He also called on all parties to provide humanitarians with unimpeded access to deliver timely and life-saving services and aid. He also urged all countries to be willing to receive Afghan refugees and refrain from any deportations. He also called upon the Taliban and all parties to respect and protect international humanitarian law and the rights and freedoms of all persons. He added that it is essential that the hard-won rights of Afghan women and girls are protected. He appealed to the Security Council and the international community as a whole to stand together, to work together and act together and use all tools at its disposal to suppress the global terrorist threat in Afghanistan and to guarantee that basic human rights will be respected. In a statement issued yesterday, the Taliban said that they would work with existing institutions. It is crucial that civil servant salaries continue to be paid, infrastructure is maintained, airports are reopened, and health and education services continue. Talking to AIR News, former diplomat Ashok Sajanhar shared his views on the developments in Afghanistan and India's response to the emerging situation.
Basically, I would say are to be in very constant touch and contact with the regional players. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has been going to Iran. He's been traveling there. I think over the last 1.5 years, he's visited that place 4 times, basically to exchange notes. Jawad Zarif was the former foreign minister of Iran here in India also. Because I think Iran also was very happy that Taliban is working towards throwing out the Americans.
Mr. Sajanhar emphasized the need of a united, strong message from the UNSC for improvement in the situation.
If the UN Security Council sends out a united, strong message that it will not get legitimacy unless it is more inclusive and unless its policies are not that of Wahhabi Islam, then I think there is some hope. There might be some pressure put on the Taliban, but otherwise, at the moment, the situation doesn't look very promising at all.
Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Union Health Minister said more than 17 lakh 43,000 vaccine doses were administered during the last 24 hours. The COVID recovery rate is now at 97.48%. Around 36,000 COVID patients recovered in the last 24 hours. Till now, more than 3 crore 14 lakh people have recovered from COVID-19. In the last 24 hours, India has reported over 32,937 new cases and 417 deaths due to COVID. Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has approved one more lab for testing and lot release of COVID-19 vaccines to ramp up the speed of vaccination. The ministry has authorized National Institute of Animal Biotechnology as central drug laboratory for testing and lot release of COVID-19 vaccines. It said the government has been working continuously and tirelessly to improve the production, supply and administration of COVID-19 vaccines. The ministry said earlier, National Centre for Cell Sciences, Pune, has been notified as a central drug laboratory on 28th of June this year. In Uttar Pradesh, several educational institutions have started physical classes from today following the weakening of COVID-19 infection. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said that due to the effective strategy and continuous efforts of the state government, the coronavirus infection in the state is under control, but COVID infection is not yet over.
In Kerala, the central team headed by Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia reached the state capital Thiruvananthapuram today to review the COVID situation in the state. The team held discussions with Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, State Health Minister Veena George and other officials. Mr. Mansukh Mandavia assured all support and said that the centre will supply more vaccines to Kerala. The Union Health Minister directed to the state government to strengthen the precautionary measures during the Onam festive season. He also called upon Governor Arif Mohammad Khan. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan opined that the vaccination rate in Kerala is higher than the national average. He also added that the death rate in Kerala is comparatively less. Meanwhile, Kerala confirmed 12,294 COVID-positive cases today. In all, 18,542 recoveries were also reported. Test positivity rate is at 14.03%. Total 142 deaths were confirmed, taking the death toll to 18,743. Presently, over 1,72,000 active cases are there in Kerala. Meghalaya government has decided to extend the ongoing curfew imposed in Shillong agglomeration of East Khasi Hills district for another 24 hours, citing law and order situation. Following a meeting with cabinet ministers and top officials of the government at Shillong, Chief Minister Conrad Sangma told reporters that the decision to extend curfew was taken to prevent any untoward incident. The curfew will conclude at 5 a.m. on 18th of August and the internet suspension will continue for the next few days. In Bihar, normal life has been paralyzed in flood-affected areas. Over 40 lakh people spread over 26 districts including Patna, Katihar, Khagaria and Samastipur are reeling under the impact of floods. Several rivers including Ganga, Sone, Punpun and Kosi are flowing above danger marks and are maintaining a rising trend. Vehicular traffic and rail traffic have been disrupted in flood-affected areas. Train services on Bhagalpur-Munger section and Kiul-Bhagalpur section have been remained suspended on second consecutive day due to submergence of railway tracks at several places. Long route trains have been diverted on alternative routes. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar said all possible assistance is being provided to flood-affected people. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Taliban takes control of presidential palace in Kabul. Afghan airspace closed. United Nations Security Council meets to discuss Afghanistan situation. New Delhi says it will take all steps to ensure safety and security of its nationals and interests in Afghanistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to virtually interact with Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow. Over 54 crore 58 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 97.48%. Country celebrates Parsi New Year Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. Malaysia's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin resigns as political crisis escalates. Sensex and Nifty hit fresh record highs. 75 Hunar Haats to be organized across the country under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, says Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. And second cricket test between India and England heading for a draw at Lords. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे. Welcome back to the evening news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with the Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow at 11 a.m. via video conferencing.
54 para-athletes from across 9 sports disciplines will be heading to Tokyo to represent the nation. This is India's largest ever contingent to the Paralympic Games. Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur will also be present during the interaction. Today, Mr. Modi met Tokyo Olympics contingent in New Delhi. Today is Navroz, the Parsi New Year. It is the most widely celebrated festival of the Parsi community. This is seen as a harbinger of peace and prosperity. According to Parsi priests, the arrival of the New Year mainly depends on the lunar calendar, and that with every New Year there is a recreation of the universe. President Ramnath Kovind and Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted all fellow citizens on the occasion of Navroz. In a tweet, Mr. Modi prayed for a year filled with happiness, prosperity and good health. He said that India cherishes the outstanding contributions of the Parsi community across different sectors. Malaysia's Muhyiddin Yassin has stepped down today as Prime Minister after months of political turmoil culminated in the loss of his majority. Mr. Muhyiddin's departure comes less than 18 months after taking office and will plunge the country into a fresh crisis amid a worsening pandemic. Political leaders have already begun to jostle for the top post, with his deputy Ismail Sabri rallying support to succeed Mr. Muhyiddin and keep the government intact.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu called upon the scientific fraternity to undertake research in new emerging areas of science like synthetic biology, computational biology, high-performance engineering material and artificial intelligence. He was speaking after unveiling the foundation stone of Innovation and Development Center of Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, JNCASR, in Bengaluru today. The Vice President said that the scientists had to work on finding solutions to problems plaguing agriculture. He appreciated JNCASR for generating over 300 patents and for promoting startups based on indigenous inventions.
Where the main focus of this institution, an autonomous institution and a deemed university, is to produce PhD and Master of Science students. The center's research has received global attention and has been recognized both in the form of granted patents and fellowships to prestigious associations in the country and overseas.
Speaking about the National Education Policy 2020, the Vice President said that the students will have access to new teaching and learning strategies across all segments and create the right educational ecosystem once the policy is implemented. The nation is remembering Bharat Ratna, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, on his third death anniversary today. He passed away on this day in 2018. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Amit Shah, BJP President J.P. Nadda and other senior leaders visited Atal Bihari Vajpayee's memorial, Sadaiv Atal, in the national capital this morning and paid their floral tributes. The Sensex and the Nifty today hit fresh records high. Both stocks logged modest gains even as the cues from global equity markets were negative. The Sensex climbed above the 55,500 mark, while the Nifty surged about 16,550 level. A report from the Business World.
The BSE Sensex gained 145 points or 0.26% to close at 55,583. The NSE Nifty rose 34 points or 0.21% to settle at 16,563. Gold prices fell 30 rupees at multi-commodity exchange for October contracts. Gold was trading at 46,910 rupees per 10 gram. Silver prices also declined 500 rupees to trade at 62,740 rupees per kilogram. Oil prices today fell around 2%, dropping for a third session. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at around $69.30 per barrel. Anubha Rohadki for AIR News.
A year-long Amrit Mahotsav quiz is being organized by the News Services Division of All India Radio as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations. Titled Amrit Mahotsav Quiz with AIR News, the quiz starts from today on 100.1 AIR FM Gold channel. The aim of the quiz is to raise public awareness about India's freedom movement, its glorious history, art and culture, heritage and strides in various walks of life over the past 75 years. Every Monday and Tuesday, one question each in Hindi and English will be asked at the start of the morning news at 8 a.m. in Hindi and 8:30 a.m. in English. The same question will be repeated towards the end of 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. news bulletins. Citizens can send their responses to the question over email on amritmahotsavquiz@gmail.com. From the correct responses, one lucky participant will be declared the winner of that edition of the quiz. The name of the winner will be announced in the morning bulletins at 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. the very next day and flashed on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. The winner will be awarded an e-certificate and a token prize. So join us to celebrate 75 years of India's independence on Amrit Mahotsav quiz with AIR News.
Azadi Ka Safar every day with All India Radio from Monday the 16th of August. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, News Services Division of All India Radio brings to you the story of glorious struggle and sacrifices of freedom fighters on 100.1 FM Gold channel in the English news bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Stay tuned.
Let us listen now to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's freedom struggle is one of the greatest and glorious struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. We will daily bring you a glimpse of the struggle. We delve into the great ocean of India's freedom struggle and present the pearls to our listeners. It will be our endeavor to cover major incidents and personalities connected with the centuries of resistance, yet it will not be the complete story, but a tribute to the brave sons and daughters of the soil who gave up everything they had to realize the dream to free their motherland from the shackles of foreign rule.
As the nation got its freedom at the stroke of the midnight of 15th August 1947, every Indian woke up with immense confidence that only freedom can give. There were hopes, there were resolves, there were expectations.
In today's episode, we will give you a brief about two not very well-known sons of India, Moj Riba and Gothu Lachana. Moj Riba was the first to hoist the national flag in Arunachal Pradesh at Deepa village on 15th August 1947. A noble soul that he was always willing to help. This is why Moj Riba was fondly called Abhoy Neji, meaning old father of all. He was born in the year 1890 in the Daring village, now Dari, in West Siang area of the state. His cane business made him interact with a cross-section of people. This is how he heard about the freedom movement. Moj Riba and his group met several prominent leaders and they joined the movement. In recognition of his innumerable sacrifices for the country's independence, he was honoured with Tamra Patra by Government of India on 15th August 1972, the 25th year of our independence.
15th August is also the birth anniversary of one of modern India's greatest philosophers, Sri Aurobindo. Aurobindo Ghosh was an active freedom fighter from 1902 to 1910. He was the first political leader to openly put forward in his newspaper Bande Mataram the idea of complete independence for the country. Sri Aurobindo and his brother Barindro led a revolutionary organization named Anushilan Samiti. The Samiti challenged British rule in India. The British also tried to falsely implicate Sri Aurobindo in Alipur conspiracy, but he was acquitted by the court. Later, he devoted the rest of his life to the development of his integral yoga, which was characterized by its holistic approach and its aim of a fulfilled and spiritually transformed life on earth. He also penned one of the longest poems in the world, Savitri, a legend and a symbol. The poem Savitri has 24,000 lines.
Also, on 16th August 1909 was born Gothu Lachana in Sirikakulam, Andhra Pradesh. He was a champion of Kisans, backward classes, weaker sections, and one of the most prominent leaders of his time. He was arrested at a very young age of 21 when he participated in the Salt Satyagraha at Palasa. Lachana also participated in the Quit India movement. He was conferred the title of Sardar for his fearless fight against the British Raj.
Having been inspired by Gandhi's fast unto death on the issue of untouchability, Lachanna organized Harijan Seva Sangam at Barua in 1932. He started a night school in the Harijan Cheri and agitated against untouchability. He organized estate-wise Zamindari Raitu associations, no tax campaigns, fought for the abolition of Zamindari system as farmers were unable to pay the heavy land revenue that was levied upon them. In 1940, he organized All India Kisan Sabha at Palasa.
Another interesting fact about this day is that Puducherry celebrates its independence on the 16th of August. Puducherry, then Pondicherry, was a French colony and their parliament ratified the Treaty of Secession on August 16, 1962, formally merging Puducherry with the Union of India.
Mark Twain has aptly summed up India as the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most artistic materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. That's all today. Let's keep celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. We will bring you more tomorrow.
In news just in, India has administered over 55 crore 14 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses so far. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 42 crore 84 lakh vaccine doses were administered as first dose and over 12 crore vaccine doses given as second doses so far. The new phase of universalization of COVID-19 vaccination commenced from 21st of June this year. The ministry said more than 55 lakh vaccine doses have been administered today. Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has said that 75 Hunar Hats will be organized across the country under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. During this Hunar Hat, artisans, craftsmen from every region of the country will exhibit and sell their handmade indigenous products. He said there will be a section, Bawarchi Khana, of traditional culinary experts in the Hunar Hat, where the people will enjoy traditional cuisines and dishes from different regions of the country. The minister said a target has been set to provide employment and employment opportunities to 7,50,000 artisans, craftsmen through 75 Hunar Hats. Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur, Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat and Minister of State for Jal Shakti Prahlad Singh Patel today launched Season 2 of Rag Rag Mein Ganga. The first episode will be broadcast from 21st of August on Doordarshan.
In cricket, the second test between India and England is heading for a draw at Lord's London. England were 75 for 5 in their second innings on the last day when reports last came in. Earlier, the visitors declared their second innings at 298 for the loss of 8 wickets and set the victory target of 299 runs for the hosts. Ajinkya Rahane scored 61 runs, while Cheteshwar Pujara contributed 45 runs in the Indian innings. Yesterday, Joe Root's brilliant and beaten 180 helped England to take a crucial lead of 27 runs in their first innings. England made 391 in response to India's 364. And for India, Mohammad Siraz picked up 4 wickets, while Ishant Sharma bagged 3 and Mohammad Shami picked up 2 wickets. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Taliban takes control of Presidential Palace in Kabul. Afghan airspace closed. United Nations Security Council meets to discuss Afghanistan situation. New Delhi says it will take all steps to ensure safety and security of its nationals and interests in Afghanistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to virtually interact with Indian para-athlete contingent for Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games tomorrow. Over 55 crore 14 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate improves to 97.48%. Country celebrates Parsi New Year, Navroz today. President, Vice President and Prime Minister convey greetings. Malaysia's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin resigns as political crisis escalates. Sensex and Nifty hit fresh record highs. 75 Hunar Hats to be organized across the country under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, says Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. And the second cricket test between India and England heading for a draw at Lord's. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.